Rule J 146. Top businesses would not be profitable if environmental capital costs considered. Most of the unpriced costs from greenhouse gas emissions, 38%, water use, land use, air pollution, land and water pollution, and waste. The analysis estimates that natural capital costs at $7.3 trillion, equating to 13% of global output in 2009. Let me explain what that comment means. And apparently it's from a story in the Examiner. Businesses create externalities, essentially costs that society bears as a byproduct of them making, producing, mining, whatever it is, their products, and getting them to market. Society bears those costs. We are providing hidden subsidies to all of these companies. And so when a libertarian comes in and says we shouldn't have these regulations and whatnot, we should have even less regulation than we have now. And all regulations do is basically force corporations to internalize the cost that society would otherwise bear. I can't remember who sent it. I think it was listener Malachi, I think, sent this to me. It's from the CBC. It's entitled, How Do You Make Car Companies Innovate? Regulate Them. Don Pittis writes, remember how all the car makers complained about the CAFE standards? These were the rules set in California but adopted by the U.S. and Canadian governments requiring cars to use less fuel. New rules for 2025 mean that you need to get 65 miles per gallon in Canada, 54 in U.S. by 2025. Impossible, said the car makers. It places an unfair burden on passenger cars, says the Volkswagen executive Tony Cervone in 2011. But we have seen now a tremendous explosion of innovation by car companies. In fact, the Boston consulting firm issued a report showing that car companies now make up almost half of the top 20 most innovative companies in the world. The rest are tech companies. The other half are car companies. Because with those parameters set by the regulations, essentially said you can no longer socialize the costs of low mileage vehicles to the rest of society. Society's not going to pick up the tab for all that added pollution, for all the added crap in the atmosphere, for the increase in global warming. You must bear those costs now. And how do car companies respond? Do they go out of business? No. They innovate. Meanwhile, we are subsidizing all these other corporations by allowing them to socialize the costs of their profits onto us. No bigger story in all of American society than that. That's what every argument about regulation comes down to. Do we have to pay for your profits? And I'm not talking about in buying your product, just in your making the product. Why do we as a society, even people who don't use your product, have to pay that? That's a corporate tax on all of us. So we can price in you can get a cheaper car that blows up, as Milton Friedman would say. But what about the first responders, who my tax dollars are going to go because we have cars that blow up? What about the slowdown in traffic because your car is blown up on the highway and productivity is down?
You could pay for a different highway system where they look less likely to have cars blow up on, Sam. Jesus.
There is...
Why do you always refuse to think in market terms? It's a little bit disturbing, buddy.